My name is Roger Moore. I started painting way back in my island, Barbados. I came to Canada, I think, 1969, and joined the company Sears for a job as a support for the family. But I continue painting in my love watercolors, and I'm presently painting still in watercolors.
Now, have you always wanted to paint since childhood? Is
Oh
that
yeah.
your dream? Or?
Yes, I wasn't interested in anything else actually. All the rest of subjects at school did not appeal to me. I was constantly trying my best to become a painter. I didn't know at that time what a painter was, and unfortunately in my time there was not many art teachers teach the subject, but I found my way, however.
So you're basically self-taught, or?
100% self-taught. 100%.
Has your art changed over the years?
Yes, I would say so. I started painting my oils with the palette knife, which is quite difficult. And as I got here and I started to raise a family, I find that oil painting and the substances that makes the oil, the turpentine, etc., was too strong for the kids and to breathe in the apartment. So I switched to watercolors and found it was much easier to work with.
Have you ever experimented with any other artistic media?
I did once a piece of sculpture, once a piece of mahogany way back. That was for the competition of Expo 67.
When you paint, do you envision any particular audience that you're painting for, or?
No. I paint first. When I paint first for the love of what I'm doing. I hope that someone will love it, and I hope that what I'm doing, someone would feel something about it, but no, I do not paint for, let's say, to sell. I paint first because I like that piece and because I like doing that subject, but not for an audience, no.
I guess maybe we could just talk a bit about the process of crafting a work of art. Do you start with a particular idea or concept, or does that kind of develop along the way?
When you go, attempt to paint a watercolor, to craft, to do it, you have to stretch paper. In the medium watercolor, you stretch the paper, and that takes about 24 hours to dry. And then you have this virgin white paper sitting there that you already have your subject. You know what you're going to paint, whether it be a bowl of fruit or a scenery. Sometimes the subject could be a sketch from a previous experience, whether it be scenery, etc., or it could be a photograph also from a previous experience. But the photograph is always my interpretation, my construction in the camera. It's never a photograph from somebody else's idea.
And maybe you could tell us a bit about your tools, your brushes.
The tools, yeah, the tools, the brushes, yes. I know. Good brushes are very important, and I was fortunate to acquire a number of good brushes, good watercolor brushes, which I have presently in my collection. They are Winsor Newton Red Sable, and they range from number 3 to number 12. But once you have acquired the technique in painting watercolors, you can paint with anything. You can paint with a feather, for that matter. But I do like to feel the feeling of good brushes under the paper, on top of the paper.
And now, how long would it take you to complete the typical piece, or does it vary?
Yes, to complete a painting, let's say a full-size sheet of watercolor paper, which is a 30 by 22. If you do that, it depends on the subject. If it's a busy subject, if it's lots of people or whatever is in the painting, it can take you a whole day. I've done a piece of work, a portrait that took me 25 minutes, and but the secret of a watercolor is once you have to know when to stop. That's the secret. Most people carry on and labor on it, and you know, after a while you find that you have gone too far. But the secret is to know how far to go and stop at that point.
That's good advice. What else? What other advice would you give maybe to someone just starting out, someone who decides she wants to paint?
Of course, the first thing that you should have is good material, very good paper, the best. Of course, paints. Paints is secondary. The paint is secondary, but the brushes are very important to start. Watercolors, as I could speak of watercolor because I've been doing it now for the last 17 years. It's very intimidating. It can really get you frustrated. And you talk to any painter or anyone who try watercolors will tell you that it is a medium that they would never ever try because it's frightening. It runs all over the place. You know, it's not. You can't control it if you don't know what you're doing. So I would suggest to any new painter, anyone who's coming into the business, to buy good brushes and concentrate on buying the best paper. The trumpets, the men performing was at Carabana, one of the Carabanas. I don't know if it was 85, 95, whatever. But however, I like the instruments and the reflection of the sun. Park bench, Allen Gardens, that was done in 1987. It's spring, and I like the bright contrast between the man's coat and the bright flowers. It's a fresh feeling. It was, you know, life again after a dreadful winter. Fooling around with the experimenting with fish in the flower vase because there's water beneath the flowers and the flowers at the top. I just want to play with the two subjects and see how they go, and kind of like it. As a matter of fact, there are lots of people who want to buy that piece. Is depicting two lovers, of course, sharing the same lips. It's where I'm going actually. If you look at the men with the trumpets, etc., it's very detailed, very realistic. I'm trying to branch out into a more interpretive, more expressive form of painting, and that was one of the first ones that I did. Actually, there are four ladies taken from a photograph of a British wedding. The people in England from the islands who came to London, England, still very, very, very colourful. I'm sure that some of the people from the islands in Toronto, Canada, does the same, but I've never been privileged to see it. But that was taken from a photograph, and actually it was a commission done for a friend, and she didn't like it after it was done. I still love it. I think it's a beautiful piece. Goldfish in a pond at the old Toronto Zoo. I don't know the correct name of it, but a place, I know it's downtown, and the fish were being fed, and I did a sketch of it and thought I'll paint it. Of the girl? Yeah, that was taken from a photograph when I visited Barbados in 1990. I saw this school girl, and she said, "Take my picture," and she posed for me. Beautiful smile, and I've been experimenting with it. It's done with a dry brush as opposed to, let's say, the fish, which is a wet brush, and some of the others that is a very dry brush approach. Seashells are my love. I'm a shell collector. I love seashells. They're so interesting. I collected these shells, and I thought I'd paint each one individually on that large watercolor sheet. It doesn't have a focal point. It's just a collection of shells with a blue background floating in midair, no perspective. The big old conch shell, I wanted to capture some of the color in the conch shell. It's so beautiful. I'm still fascinated with the colors that a conch, the living animal that was in there, how he can produce those beautiful colors. So I tried to capture it in watercolor, and did a very vivid, very strong, brilliant red background. Sweet Mangoes, it's called, actually, is in my book. I did that one in 1993, I think it was. Again, I was experimenting with the lack of perspective. It was just a matter of having some fruit on a plate and no angles, no perspective. The the pink almond trees captured my eyes. I was walking through Sunnybrook Park one afternoon in the spring, and I saw that and I thought it was so attractive with the brilliant pinks and the dark shadows beneath the tree. And I love that piece actually very much. So small, I love it.
Fish fry.
Yeah, I actually forgot this one. I haven't seen it so long. it's the horizon, the new horizon. It's something that I'm venturing into. I'm looking at space here. I'm telling you that space, whether it's out of the bowl or in the fish bowl, it's still space. Whether the birds are flying or the fish are swimming, and that's my future. Actually, that's where I'm going, working with space in my painting. Cantaloupe. I was experimenting with the detail in the cantaloupe. Sometimes you get really carried away and you want to prove that you can paint every little minute detail, and I did with this one. Actually, I had to stop because it was too realistic. But I'm not happy with it because I'm not too happy with the background. So I'm thinking of maybe redoing it or maybe covering the background. The background just doesn't work. I'm in a different frame of mind now. That was done about 2 years ago.
Nude?
I'm experimenting with nudes here. This was one of a series of maybe about 5 of them, it looks unfinished, but it is actually finished because she's wearing a white robe contrasting the dark skin with a yellow, very strong yellow background. Again, I'm going to use a very famous painter here that I'm very much in love with in the last, say, 5 years, Matisse. It's not actually a Matisse subject. It's not actually a Matisse look-alike, but I'm excited about the way he paints bright color. And after the Barnes collection, I was privileged to see some of his work there, and I kind of like his approach to painting. So again, the nude in the dark skin with the white cloth draped over her and the red background.
Bride and groom.
This is a British wedding, a series of paintings that I do at the show at the Columbus Center. You'll see a British wedding. This is the bride and groom of a series of work from that wedding in Britain. It's a very tight shot of the face of the man and the woman saying "I do."
Paul?
It's a spring day. But for many years I said to people I love fall. It's the best season. But until I fell in love with spring, of course, spring is to me the best season, and a lot of my paintings are influenced with spring. It shows you that life is coming again, and it's a very exciting season. And this was a park. I captured again the pink almond tree. I think it's such a beautiful color in the spring. It really makes you feel like life is coming back again. A wedding, another bride and groom, a different approach, a different colors, different feeling altogether. Almost like a blue mood as opposed to a warm feeling. But again, it was my experimenting with the wedding, with the bride and the groom. My nudes are not seen much because, of course, not many people are comfortable with nudes. You get a chance to show nudes in a private, personal show. When it's a family show, you're a little hesitant to do it because some people get a little offended. But this is an overhead shot, looking actually back into the figure with the body draped over with the sheet. Again, lovers, the kiss on the hand, the blue lips, all portraying a loving feeling, with an attempt to show a heart. It was all a creation of showing the passion with two people. Again, I'm trying to tell the story that although a mermaid is a fictitious the thing, and an angel is also the same, I'm trying to marry the two the flying with the swimming, they both are the same. It's space, equal space, and this is a way of expressing that feeling.
Okay, Roger, what can you tell us about this piece here?
This one was done on the beach, actually. Four boys strutting this stuff, you know, they're saying mine is bigger than yours. The technique is a wet wash, wet on wet, actually.
I'd like to know what inspired this one.
This one is called fantasizing. The lady is fantasizing, and the mirror is behind the Chesterfield, and in the mirror is rather than having her reflection in the mirror is the person she's fantasizing about.